So already two very interesting comments in chat. We got Road Warrior saying, "I'm not interested in this card, but he needs something to do." And if there's something that we are good at, it's taking up time. So welcome, Road Warrior. And then John said that he used to like Kentucky Downs, but it just doesn't feel the same. Now, is it the new owners, John? Because you know the owners changed, I think, about 2 years ago. I know C.J. Johnson's dad. I don't know if he owned it or he ran it. And C.J. Johnson, you probably see him on Twitter. I know he's real big in horse racing Twitter. He's an owner. One of his most famous horses is like Sally's Curlin. I know is a big horse for him, and I forgot who else. But that's the first one that pops off my head. So I don't know if it's just, the change in like ownership. They ended up getting rid of that jockey bet, and the takeout's still low, which is good. Or could it just be the absolute just shit show that it's kind of been the first couple days with, I don't know, the power going out today, and that gate malfunction. I mean, it's been pretty freaking crazy. And this is the second most prominent power outage that we've had this year. Caleb, do you remember the first?
No.
No? Do you not remember Texas Champions Day when me and you were just printing money? We're printing money, and I think we were like live and like every horizontal known to man, and then the fucking power went out and the meat never came back. Yeah.
Yep.
That was fun.
It was late at night. I remember that.
It was like a Friday or Saturday or something
I
too.
remember
Like you actually like this was, I think, right around when COVID was starting to kind of like become a real big thing. And you had you're like, I'm clearing my night out and I'm just fucking playing Sam Houston all night. And yeah, that ended very well.
Yeah, very soon.
But anyways, we are on the wrong lead. I am Josh. To the top left, we have our boy Caleb. In the bottom, we have Mark. Mark, what expensive whiskey are you mixing today?
I'm just using Sazerac. I'm making, doing a little bit of RDA. I went all mixed drinky again.
Okay. Caleb, are you still drinking water?
No, I'm trying out a new bottle. Got the smoke wagon out for tonight.
Oh, nice.
Unfiltered bottle. So first pour.
You'll have to let me know how that is. I'm back on this Russell Reserve single barrel store pick from the store, the chain here, Binny's. And I got some Wild Turkey as my backup. I'm going Wild Turkey tonight. But we're gonna talk through some of this Kentucky Downs card. I know we are up against NFL, so I don't know what kind of live viewership we're gonna get, but I know a couple guys wanted to talk a little bit. Oh, and we got Keep Pounding saying he beat Dennis. Dennis might actually be at work. I don't know if you guys know, but I think Dennis got a job at Churchill. I think he's working as a security guard.
Security guard or something. Yeah, good for him.
Yeah, so that's more money. It's going to be in the pools. So thank you, Churchill, for fattening up the pools. We're gonna take a look at this card here. We got five stakes races here on Saturday. Why don't we talk about Kentucky Downs in general? For you guys who don't know, but anyone who's watching probably knows, Kentucky Downs is like a Euro style course. It's like that weird shape. It undulates. It goes uphill and downhill. There's a right turn in there, so it's a little different. There's always big fields. The purses are really big. The takeout is low. And I think that this is pretty much everything you could ask for as a horse player. What do you think, Mark?
No, I would agree. It's kind of turf handicapper nirvana. Big fields. It's sort of a teardrop shaped course, but it has two right corners in it. One going down the backstretch. So they actually start the 7 furlong or 6 furlong? They start and there's a right and then a left. So it's this sort of weird, kinky, setup. The far corner, the bigger corner on the teardrop is downhill. So the entire front straightaway is uphill with, again, a left kink in it. And it's, in 2 pan shots down the front straight, which is bizarre and drives people nuts, with Trackus that doesn't quite work all the time, but it is a really, really cool track. The one thing I will say with it is if you're somebody that's new to playing Kentucky Downs, especially the one turn races, so 6 furlong, 7 furlong kind of stuff, those are very outside post favoring. And I don't know if it's positional, I don't know if it's speed, just not getting trapped, not getting a crap trip, but they've been doing really well. And it's something you don't want to be on the lead, but you want to sort of get those pocket trips. And cutbacks at Kentucky Down are really huge. Horses that are coming from a longer race or have shown they can win it longer and are shortening up, because big, long uphill front stretch tends to play longer than the distance implies. So those are kind of some things to look for.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Mark. I think he has it pretty well covered. I love Kentucky Downs. I forgot how much I loved it until I think like Wednesday, and I was just like goofing around, and you just get so many prices. Like favorites are very beatable. It's such a fun track to play. It's a hard track. Like it kicks my ass pretty much every year. It's not a track that I really chase pick fives on, but can maybe play some spready pick threes or, some spready exactas or something and try to catch some bombs. But it's so much fun. I agree. Those one turn races, they remind me a lot of the old down the hill races at Santa Anita, because you kind of have that right hand turn before it goes left again. So it does seem like the inside post. If you don't have the speed to clear, it does run into some traffic sometimes, which can be problematic. But they had a couple winners from the rail on, I think it was Monday on opening day. So I still favor the outside, but it's not like I toss the inside necessarily either. But yeah, it's a fun track, even if they've had a couple issues this year. And I'm looking forward to Saturday.
Yeah, I think Saturday's is Saturday their last day? Or no, Sunday. Sunday, yeah. I think they got 5 days this year. Because they ran Monday, yesterday, today. They're off tomorrow, and then I think they got Saturday and Sunday. I haven't looked at Saturday's card yet or Sunday's card yet. But we got 5 big stakes races, four grade threes, and a listed one. So, and there's some big names here too. So, there's a couple of trainers that do point to this meet, like Maker and Ward. The Ward's already, made his presence felt on a couple of these races. Let's take a look here at race 7 here. We're gonna mile on the turf, grade 3 Kentucky Downs Ladies Turf. I mean, I guess you kind of gotta look at this race with a little bit of question on who is really going to be kind of your pace setter in this race. Mitchell Road is a horse that has done most of her damage when she has done any damage when she gets the lead and on the front end. But as we just talked about, she is drawn all the way on the inside, and the inside's not great. I mean, on the route races, you can kind of make up some more ground, but usually those are people closing. Mark, why don't you take first pass at this one?
Yeah, I think you have it right. That Mitchell Road is sort of forced here. I think they have to go on the rail. They sort of have to send and try to clear and get loose. But the thing is, if you look at the weather forecast, there's a bunch of rain scheduled for Saturday, and Kentucky Downs will run on the rain. They're very Euro style. That the rain is not going to cancel their card or anything. But my concern with Mitchell Road is obviously Mitchell Road's probably the speed in here probably gets loose. Sayers is going to go. Does this horse really want to handle the off turf? The horse has 2 races in the Ellis Park race where just stopped horribly on a soft turf at Ellis, and back in at Saratoga in July of last year, where did not was not super short, but was expected to run much better than she did, getting across the the turf in the Diana. I think I want, and things that I've sort of mentioned before are going to kind of lead me to where I want to go. I want horses that have been proven at longer distances, and I want horses that have shown they can handle a bit of a softer turf. And I kind of landed on 2 that are on the inside. I don't love the post draw, but that's Tap It Today, the 3, and English Affair, the 4. Bejarano has been riding absolutely lights out on this meet. And I sort of took the other Chad Brown horse, who is one that has won it longer and shown can win it longer. I think both of them set those those right kind of trips, Bejarano has just been phenomenal. He's been giving some great rides when he's not getting the top tier mounts. So, he gets up on what is a pretty top tier mount, I think, here on English Affair for George Arnold. And I think, that would be, my top pick. I think you have to sort of talk about Regal Glory, and my concern with that horse is this is one that has shown that she really wants kind of a mile, and she doesn't really want to go any further. I realize she won the Lake Placid at 8.5, but that race had a really kind of wonky pace structure in it, and she's sort of, Chad's tried to even cut her back to 7 furlongs this year. Couldn't get it done in the Intercontinental, and I think this is going to be a little too distancy for her, and I'm not sure she's going to hold on that big long front stretch. So I'm slightly fading her, and ended up into a little bit pricier horses inside.
Yeah, so we were chatting about this one earlier, and it's funny because I think I'm totally opposite of both Josh and Mark on this race. But I will concede that I think the weather plays a huge role in which direction I go in the 7th race here. Mitchell Road clearly does not like a soft turf. If you look at that last race, ran over yielding ground. She did not like it. I think she has one way to go, and it's forward. And she ran second at this track last year, in a stakes race. So to me, as long as it's firm, I think she's very usable here because there really isn't any other speed. I'd be very surprised to see Castellano on the 3-horse send for the lead. I'd be very surprised if Jose on Regal Glory sends for the lead. And that's pretty much it as far as your speed, goes. So I think that, you get the, in my opinion, best turf speed jockey in the entire country in Luis Saez, who just has a uncanny ability to get on the front and put fields to sleep. So I love the jockey here. From the inside draw, I think it forces their hand. It's been tough to wire races at Kentucky Downs so far, but speed seems like it's been fair. So as long as the track comes up firm or good to firm, I'm interested in Mitchell Road, and I'm sure she's going to be pretty overlooked considering that last effort was pretty dreadful, and some of her other races, kind of haven't really been all that impressive. The other one I liked actually was the favorite here. I was so excited coming to Kentucky Downs thinking that, I finally get to bet a whole day of turf races and not have to deal with which fucking Chad Brown horse do I have to use today. And the first race I look at on Saturday, which was this one, and naturally he has 2 entered, including your 9-5 favorite. So that being said, I just think that she's a cut above the rest of this field. Her figures, on time form are pretty much standouts compared to anyone else here. She does have some tactical speed, so I don't think she'll be coming from way off the pace in a race that I think is going to favor horses that can be forwardly placed. Her last 2 losses, they were both to newspaper of record, which doesn't really bother me. She's obviously turned out to be a very impressive 4-year-old filly now. So I think she's unquestionably kind of the horse to beat here, third off the layoff. The other ones weren't particularly interesting to me. The other Chad, as we like to call it, I don't know what to make of this horse. I fell victim to it on Derby weekend when Chad Brown sent that other Monmouth horse that had a huge fig at Monmouth and just was so visually impressive. And I think it was the Sacred Life or something like that. Horse gets bet down from a 6-1 morning line down to a 2-1 favoritism. And the horse just completely shits the bed, runs up the track. Sometimes, anyone who knows me knows I'm not a fan of Maryland, Monmouth, New Jersey kind of horses. I think the figs are bad. And I'm kind of wondering if this horse clearly has some soundness issues, a lot of breaks in the running lines. Doesn't feel like a real Chad Brown to me. I'll probably let the 3 beat me. If I'm going to go for a price, the price I actually liked here was the 2. Princess Causeway. She looks a little bit slow on paper, but an angle that I really can't overemphasize at Kentucky Downs is the horse for course angle. It's a very unique track. You have undulations, hills, turns. The power goes out, the gates open early. Crazy shit happens. So this horse is 2 for 2 at Kentucky Downs. Won a race here last year. She gets the distance. She likes the trip. And she really hasn't run that poor. She was really trying to close from an impossibly wide post and pretty far back over a really bogged down turf course last out at Ellis. I think she'll be sharper here second off the layoff, getting to a course that she likes here. As long as the ground is pretty firm, I think I'll be using mostly the 1 and the 6 and a little bit of the 2.
Yeah, I will say, and Caleb was talking about sort of what's been working so far this meet. You've not wanted to be on the front end, but you've not wanted to be coming far, from far out of it. The turf's been playing pretty firm. It's been, very friendly to speed. You don't necessarily want to be on the lead turning for home, but you want to be in that sort of first flight. We haven't seen horses coming from 20 out of it getting home, but we've definitely been seeing those horses that are, anywhere from say a pocket trip, a length off the speed to being 5 or 6, maybe 5 lengths off. That's where you sort of wanted to be. So I think Regal Glory does makes a lot of sense. Arguably she's the horse to beat in here. I just thought she's going to be very much over bet, given all the things, and I could sort of come up with some reasons to kind of chink in her armor a little bit. For a horse that very well could be, I don't know, 7-5, 6-5 in this field wouldn't shock me. The other, horses that I sort of were a little interested in, and I don't know how to use either one of these two, and neither one of you have mentioned them, so is the 7 Lady Apple and the 8 Secret Message. Lady Apple to me has the pedigree to be a turfer. They've just never put her on turf, and they've, she sort of has been exposed, especially that Delaware Park race where she just ran terribly. It's Santana and Asmussen on turf, not the most deadly combo, and nothing from Asmussen's really been running well this meet, but she merits consideration just on some of her back class. She's a multiple times graded stakes winner, and it's hard to really fault that. And Secret Message to me, obviously Graham Ocean's barn has been very cold as of late, all through the Saratoga meet, and now continuing on into this meet. But Secret Message is run decently. She's got some races that fit here, and she's outside drawn as well, which has definitely been preferential in these types of races. And she's also 2 for 3 at the distance, and has never missed the exacta at the distance. So a horse that seems like the cutback, and especially the cutback at this track, might make a lot of sense and fall in her wheelhouse. I think she's way short in the morning line. I think you probably get double that, but I thought she was at least worth a look.
Yeah, I mean, you guys all talked about the horses that I was semi-interested in. I think my top pick in this race is going to be the 4 English Affair, seeing as the, we're expecting to get some weather here. I think English Affair's race last time out on the soft going shows that that soft is not going to be a problem. So I'm going to go ahead and use English Affair as an A. I'm also going to use a little bit of Regal Glory as an A as well. The other 2 horses that I was interested in were the 1 and the 8, and you guys kind of talked both about them. Had them as Bs. If Mitchell Road was posted outside, and we were talking about this before the stream started, if Mitchell Road was posted outside, I would feel a lot better using her. But Caleb makes a good point. Like, you got Saya's aboard. I mean, they're gonna go, and there's not exactly a ton of speed posted outside. So even though she's gonna be on the rail, she's gonna be able to get off that rail pretty easy. So. Like one horse in here that I'm going to use like absolutely 0 of, and I hope takes money, is going to be the 7 Lady Apple. I have no idea what the heck they're doing trying this horse on turf at this point. I mean, is this just like we got nowhere else to run her, or what?
No, I think it's definitely, if you look at the last 2 races, she's been terrible, and they are desperate in trying to find something. So they're going, hey, let's try turf.
Yeah, I mean, the older filly and mare division on dirt is stacked. I mean, you got Midnight Bisu, Monomoy Girls back in action. Like, there's a ton of CC, Bellafina, Serengeti Empress. Like, she has nowhere to go where she can compete unless she drops in for a tag somewhere. And you obviously don't want to give her up because she still isn't, she's not dusted yet. So I think this is just a desperate move here.
Yeah, I mean, they've tried to sort of avoid the big players. They ran her in that I don't even know what the Obey stakes at Delaware, and that one at the Groupie Dow at Ellis Park. So they've dropped her out of the graded stakes ranks and tried to drop her into sort of black type stakes, and she's really run up the track and has not run well at all. I mean, obviously Delaware was playing very weird. We were all kind of targeting it on some massive bias there, but I don't really think she had any excuses last out in the Groupie Dow. So it becomes, what do they really do with her? She's got pedigree that says she should be able to handle it, but my feeling is she's kind of done with racing, and I would sort of want to, I would lean more that way than this wakes her up or something.
Yeah.
All right,
I
cool.
agree.
Yeah, I think we talked that one to death. Let's take a look at chat real quick. John Massey pointing out that it's important, and I think Mark, you kind of mentioned it. Hey, look for the horses that run on soft ground before, and that's kind of something that you look for, in places where they run on the soft a little bit more. Keep Pounding says he's just here for Caleb's Zulu rant, and he's glad to see he's off the water this week. So that's gonna be great.
You're gonna get a bourbon and fueled hate fest, my friend.
And Matt says that actually they run Wednesday the 16th as well, so we get another day. They get 6 full days, so they're gonna end their meet on the 16th. So, Evil Bob Dole asking about Morticia.
She's not here this year, thank God.
And then people complaining that it's cutting in and out, but I think it's a mobile thing because it looks like things are working fine. I haven't seen any issues, so hopefully this will be fine for everybody else. Let's move on to race 8, the Kentucky Downs Ladies Sprint, another grade 3. We got 6.5 furlongs here, 3-year-old and up fillies and mares, we were talking about this a little bit, and I was like, I see some horses in here I really like Winning Envelope and I'll Handle Cash, and they're 20-1. Like, what monster could possibly be in this race? Got Stormy shows up here for some reason. And I mean, you also have Campari as well, coming back from Ascot. So there's a little bit of star power in here, including a horse that I've lost plenty of money to in Jakarta. Although, to be fair with Jakarta, Caleb, I believe you were on her last time as well, weren't you?
I was on her in the newspaper record race. I don't know if she raced again since that.
Did you just use star power and Jakarta in the same sentence?
Yes. Who was it? Because Kariba, that Caress Stakes at Saratoga.
I was her in the Belmont too. Yeah, I think I was on all 3 of the starts.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. As much shit as I get for betting that horse. But Caleb, why don't you take first pass at this one?
Yeah, this is either an incredibly simple race or an incredibly challenging race, depending on what you think of Got Stormy. I was against her in the 4-star Dave, and I thought she ran pretty well, all things considered. She started to look like the old Got Stormy, the one that actually won that race in 2019, and that was actually like a very legitimate contender in the Breeders' Cup Mile. If you think that she's turned it around and she's back on top of her game, she's going to be almost impossible to beat in this spot. She's cutting back, which is, like Mark mentioned, cutbacks are very good at Kentucky Downs, given the more taxing nature of the course with the hills. And if you look back at her races to where she didn't run all that well, perhaps, like maybe in the Poker or the Bogey, her speed figures, at least on time form, are still good enough to win. They're the second choice here, and I don't really know who that would be. I don't have lines turned on. Maybe like the 7 or somebody. Like, even like their best race is not as good as that visibly poor race as Got Stormy ran 2 and 3 back. Who is it, Mark?
Campari, the 11.
Campari. Yeah. So to me, it's like, well, you pretty much need Got Stormy to fire a race worse than she has in her last 6, and one of these other horses to jump up in order for her to lose. Now, the one thing I will say is that I think it's well known at this point, Got Stormy does not like much give in the ground. She likes a pretty quick, pretty hard, firm turf course. And she handled the good going pretty well at Saratoga last time. I don't know how good that track truly was. But historically, she's been scratched out of races multiple times if it rained that day, even if the race stayed on turf. She doesn't care for the soft yield and going. So if this comes up wet, I'll probably be totally against her. But as long as the track is good to firm or doesn't get too much moisture, I have a really hard time getting around her.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. And I understand that they've historically scratched her out of softer races or the softer going. And I've never really understood that. I mean, her Woodbine Mile was really good over a track rated good. And quite honestly, the Saratoga Inner that was rated good on 4-star Dave Day was a freaking bog. I mean, they were throwing up clods, and that was a very, very, I mean, it was more of a European good rating than it was a U.S. good rating. Now that track came back pretty soft. So I don't know if it's just Cassie being careful with a monster that he has. He doesn't want to doesn't want to put her into a bad spot, or is it really that she doesn't like the off going? But I agree, they have scratched her a number of times. Is it, or is it him using an excuse just to get her a softer spot? I will say she's been consistently up against the boys, and she at this age group, she's getting quite a bit of class relief in a Philly restricted race. So, I think to me, Got Stormy just kind of towers over this field. And I'm not going to get crazy cute trying to beat her. And that is one on the cute count. The other horse that I was a little interested in here is the 5 Change of Control, who is a horse that if you has some dirty up form, if you toss the last race, which was the wrong surface, is 1-2 straight, taking a step up in class here. But on time form figs, this fits. Now you're talking a sprinter trying to stretch out. I get it. But this isn't sort of a need the lead or a speedball type sprinter. This is sort of an off the pace sprinter. So she should be able to sit a nice trip in here. She's a nice price on the morning line. And I find her, that's the only horse that I thought kind of merited some B consideration. Seeing that we've never really seen this race and this distance out of her. And then beyond that, I'm really kind of into some, the Camparis of the world. I think she's probably a C in here. I think the Brazilian horse on the one post is somewhat interesting just from the unknown quantity. And Paulo Lobo has shipped some in that have been real good horses. He knows what to do. He did a small barn, but he's somebody who's done real well with some oddball horses. He knows how to spot them well. And, I thought the mentality, just because of the fact that if you've been watching this meet so far, Wes Ward with Gabriel Corrales up, all of Corrales is 4, I think I said it right, Corrales, right?
Yeah, it's Gerardo.
Gerardo Corrales, my bad. All 4 of his wins have come up for Wes Ward, so he's getting he's getting the choice Ward mounts and a bit of a bomb. It's a horse that can kind of suck up as a C, but probably ends up being an underneath horse, if anything.
Yeah, in 8 starts, and I don't know, this doesn't include today, but in 8 starts in the past year at Kentucky Downs, they're 38% with a $4.33 ROI when Corrales and Ward hook up.
Yeah.
So
That does not account for today, where they had another win, that horse in the last race, that paid another, it was like 3rd or 4th choice.
Oh yeah, Ramsey Solution was yesterday, right?
Yeah, Ramsey Solution was yesterday, but today you had that one in the last race that we were all saying was an ice cold single that went off at 5-1, and none of us were smart enough to bet it.
Yeah. Let's not talk about that. I kind of agree with you here, Mark. I'm not going to get too crazy here. I got Stormy as my lone A. I just think that she is the class of the field. I have 4 C's marked down here. I think one of these horses is going to move up to a B if I were to play something horizontally. But I got the outside horses here. I got the 7, the 9, the 7, the 9, the 10, and the 11. Jakarta, I think, is just a C for the lulz. I'm probably not going to use Jakarta, mostly because I don't think Jakarta wants anything to do with soft ground. But I think that I'm going to move this 9 up just based off of that effort last time at Ellis Park on the soft going. So, is going to show that outside speed that we want in these these sprints here at Kentucky Downs. So I think that 9 is going to get a pretty nice setup. Now, I'm not exactly thrilled to bet Joe Talamo on the turf, but I think the 9's worth a look. Obviously, Campari is another horse that is got some some class, and has raced 2 really big races at Ascot, and both of them really good races. So that's going to be another horse that I'm going to be interested in. And Jakarta was going to be my speed pick, but I think the 9's just about as fast as Jakarta, and I think is going to be faster out the gate on the soft going. So I'll probably move the 9 up to a B. Keep Got Stormy's my lone A, and I'm going to toss Jakarta. So I'm going to be something like 8. 8 is an A, 9 is a B, and 7 and 11 is C's here. Let's take a look here. Evil Bob Dole saying he does not bet Kentucky Downs to get 2-1 on a horse. I don't think that you'll even get 2-1 on Got Stormy. John Massey says the 5 and the 9 step up on soft yielding. I agree. I think Matt is also agreeing about the 9.
I like that John Massey agrees with my 5 in here. That makes me feel good.
Ooh, Sixer says this race begins and ends with Campari. I mean, Kamari's got has got those races, and I mean, is a sprinter, but Kamari's also, since like her 3rd start, decided that she no longer wants to break, and is just making that one huge move. So it really just depends. I mean, the way that the turf's been playing, I think it puts Campari against it a little bit. But I definitely think that Campari does fit in this race. I'll put
Campari in the winner's circle right here, but I absolutely do not like her. I just don't think she's fast enough. She doesn't have a race that is, within 20 time form points of anybody in here. Yeah, I don't know, 15 time form points. She's just plain not fast enough. And there's just too many of these in here that are way, way too classy. And I don't know why they scratched her so many times. There's obviously something going on here with her, that she's got some sort of issues, but they've played around with scratching her a lot and sort of multi-entering her and putting her to softer spots. I think there's probably some soundness issues, and I just don't think she's fast enough. Even though I would use her as a C, but it's a pretty defensive C.
Yeah, see, once again, we're opposite. She's the only horse I would be interested in after Got Stormy. I mean, after that, I could make a case for probably 75% of the field to jump up and do something, but I don't feel that one is any more likely than the other. I mean, I like Winning Envelope, who closed on the slow pace last time out. Change of Control, your 5 horse makes some sense back on those 2 Churchill turf sprints. Like, those are pretty nice races. But to me, I mean, Campari ran a bang up race at Ascot. Last time she did that, she came back and had no problem, no Ascot bounce, ran a good race. The break concerns me for sure. I mean, she can't afford to probably spot the field 6 or 8 lengths at the start. But to me, she's the only horse I think that is actually talented enough to upset Got Stormy if good Got Stormy shows up. The rest of these kind of seem like others hoping to take a shot.
And Kamari's the only horse in here too that's also raced against the boys as well, right?
I'd have to dig a little more, but yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, the one thing I would say with, I do agree with what Caleb is sort of saying here. I mean, yeah, he's got a point.
All right, we'll make sure to clip that, Caleb, and I'll send that over to you.
My thing is, if you're a horizontal player, you get in that sort of game where if you're a skinnier ticket player, you probably just single Got Stormy and move on. If you're somebody trying to spread and catch a monster, then you spread out in this race. To me, Campari feels like a defensive horse. I don't think she can improve and beat Got Stormy's A game. I don't even think she can improve and beat Got Stormy's B game. She sort of needs Got Stormy to throw a clunker and then her to suck up and beat everybody else. And at 4-1, I just don't think the odds are there where that makes a lot of financial sense. I don't know. Maybe I'm nuts.
Probably. Let's move on here. Let's go ahead and take a look at race 9, the Juvenile Turf Sprint. It's a $500,000 race that is not graded, but I'm sure next year it will be. I think it's the new one. I think that's why it doesn't have to go like 2 years or something before it gets graded. But this is a pretty interesting race. I kind of landed, and I actually changed my mind last minute, obviously, but I kind of landed on a lone A and I got a couple of B's here I'm going to want to use. My lone A is actually going to be the 10 Fauci. I'm going to go ahead and is this the? I think Westward's got 2 in this race, right? Yeah. Okay. Make sure I didn't miss a random third Westward horse here. But he's got 2 in here. They're both posted outside. They're both probably going to be your short price favorites. So I really like the 10 Fauci out of all these horses. I'll take the outside speed all the time here. Ran pretty well in this, or ran second in the Skidmore. I think, Golden Pal, for some reason that race is not... Golden Pal, is that another Ward horse? Yeah. Golden Pal is that Ward horse that went over to Ascot and ran that huge race too. Fauci came, is probably the second or third best 2-year-old that Ward's got right now. So I'm going to take the outside speed here as my lone A. I am going to use the other Ward as a B, the 9 outdoor. I prefer the 10 because the 10 has run on the yielding and won. So I'm going to just kind of lean on that experience. So I'm gonna stick with the 10 as my lone A. The 9 and the 6 was another horse I was interested in, just because that pace factor is posted a little bit further inside, but isn't like stuck on the rail or anything. So I definitely think that the 6 is another usable horse in here. And then kind of just sticking on that the theme that I guess we've kind of had, where, hey, if you've won on yielding, I'm going to want to use you, or won on what? I want to use you. I'm going to want a little bit of this 3, Petite Verdot. I think that she's super interesting, he is super interesting because of that win last out on the yielding. Now, it does have to improve quite a bit, at least on Bayer Figs. I haven't looked at time form yet, but I like seeing that 1 for 1 or 1 for 2 on the wet. So I have the 10 as my lone A, and then I have 3, 6, 9 as B's in this race. Mark, what do you think?
Pretty similar to Josh here. Outador and Fauci are my 2 A's in here. I think if you look at Timeform Figs or you look at Bayer Figs, either one of them, they're both pretty similar here. Both are the outside drawn speeds, and I think are your 2 logical A's in this race. I'm sure Caleb will disagree, but the other 2 that I was interested in here a little bit on, and they were both B's for me. The 4 County Final, who is a horse that won at first asking at Churchill. Then they threw him into the Bashford Manor, where he ran quite good to Cazadero, who's a real good horse, and Herd Immunity, who came back to win at Saratoga. And then they tried to get him back on the turf at Monmouth, which got rained off, but he won anyways. So he's obviously fairly talented. Paid a bunch of money for him as a West Point horse. I don't love Asmussen, but and he's been pretty cold this meet. But Jose Ortiz, lands here, and I think that one is sort of super interesting. The other horse I want as a B is Bodeheim, the 6, a horse that, again, a touch of dirtied up form, won by 11 1/4 lengths. Yeah, it was a Canterbury, in a maiden special weight. Not sure what the competition was there, but they threw this one in the it looks like the Prairie Meadows Gold Juvenile. I don't know. Bayer, they abbreviate everything in DRF, and won that by a neck on dirt. So obviously another horse that's talented. The figures came back much better on that Canterbury race, and I think the 4 and the 6 are the kind of horses that get a little lost in the shuffle. People aren't going to be betting them, and Valerie Lund is also a 43% turf sprint trainer, which is this one should fall right in her wheelhouse. So that's a pretty stupid stat. But I think the 4 and the 6 both make a lot of sense as my B's.
Yeah, so I actually do see this one the same way as you guys. To me, it's kind of like it's a 2-year-old race that's a turf sprint on a goofy shaped track. So I expect some fuckery to happen. But to me, if the 9 or 10 don't win, then I don't think I know who does. Then 10 is probably the best of this field. Got run down when just went way too fast early in his debut by Prisoner, who's a really nice Pletcher horse, really nice Pletcher 2-year-old. Then came back and won his maiden on the turf, handles the yield and going at Keeneland, so wouldn't expect him to have any issues here if the track comes up with a little bit of give in it. Came back and ran a good second to Golden Pal. Golden Pal is an absolute monster. Like, if you don't follow the 2-year-old scene, like, horse ran a huge race at Ascot. Like, this was Westward's best 2-year-old, hands down, as of like March. And the horse has only gotten better. So no shame at all getting beat by Golden Pal. You'll note that Falsey was 4 lengths clear of the 3rd place finisher, who was then 3.5 clear of the 4th place finisher. Those are big numbers in a 5.5 furlong turf sprint. I mean, you don't see horses strung out like that in races that short very often. So that's probably my tepid top pick here, but I like the 9 almost as much. The thing I do like about the 9 out of door is just that this horse has actually passed other horses to win. This race is full of, like, out of the 10 horses in here, I think 9 of them have only won in gate to wire. Well, maybe 8 of them, because one of them actually hasn't yet won. So, like, this horse, was able to track and then kick on to win. I always like to see that in 2-year-olds. And I do think that Irad keeps this horse off the pace quite a bit, because I think this thing gets just stupid hot on the front end. So to me, the 9 and 10 are the 2 most likely winners. They'll be my 2 A's. I'm not going to try to distinguish between them because I like them about the same. And the price will probably be about the same as well. Beyond that, it's really make the case for whichever long shot you think might jump up. Like, I wouldn't talk anybody off any of these horses, to be honest, as long as you're not using them in the same capacity as you are the 9 and the 10. I mean, I think any of these others are very adequate B's and C's if you wanted to spread that much. I probably won't. Really, I looked hard to try to find a closer in this field because there's just so much speed. And, like, I just feel like this race has to melt. But the only closer I could find is the 2, who hasn't actually raced on the turf, is adding blinkers, switching to the grass for a first-on-grass trainer who's 0 for 24, and doesn't have a ton of grass pedigree to speak of. An exaggerator, we know him as the horse that won the Preakness when he beat Nyquist, or the Belmont, I can't remember. I mean, he was a dirt horse. He loved the slop. The bottom half of the pedigree is a little bit better. The dam has produced 2 turf winners out of 5 starters. So at least there's some turf influence there. And you do get Bejarano up, who's a very underrated turf rider. If you don't follow the Midwest circuit, he's actually quite good. But really, it's admittedly kind of grasping at straws. The horse doesn't seem fast enough to win on paper. He's never tried turf. He has a kind of shitty inside post, which maybe won't matter that much because he's probably going to be last. But I was just trying to find a closer, and that's kind of the one I looked at.
Yeah, so you mentioned the maiden in here, Boss Bear, the 5. We talk about Michael Maker pointing for this meet. He's been horrendous this meet. 1 for 14, a winner, a second, 4 thirds. I think he kind of burnt most of his ammo at Saratoga. He had a very good Saratoga meet for Mike Maker, but Boss Bear has a ton of turf pedigree. Gets a 2-pound weight break in here, being a maiden, and is this one that you can make any sort of case for here?
It is, only it's the horse that makes so little sense that you have to wonder if something's up. It's like, this horse didn't debut on grass. He didn't pass a horse at all in his debut. He broke next to last and he finished next to last. And like, he took money that day. That's kind of the thing. He went off at just under 5-1 in a field of 7 horses. So, like, this horse wasn't dismissed. Irad Ortiz was up, so you'd have to think it was somewhat, well-intentioned. They weren't just running this horse for no reason. That being said, I mean, he exits a restricted race at Saratoga to face some open company here against horses who've already won on a new surface. I mean, I could see using him because he makes so little sense that, like, you almost might have to use him. But, it's probably just one of those ones that, Philip beat me.
Yeah, I was sort of in the same boat. It just was one of those ones that, like, why on earth are you here? You're a New York bred. Why aren't you running at a Belmont Stakes, restricted, 5 furlong turf sprint? You're going to have those come the same day, Saturday. You're going to have those races eligible. Why are you shipping here? It's one of those, they only paid $26,000 for the horse. Like, it makes so little sense that you kind of scratch your head and just Sayers gets up. Like, it seems like something's amiss, but it's either something's amiss or this one, absolutely runs off the track. One or the other.
For what it's worth, I did take a quick look at the Exaggerators progeny, and it looks like has had some success with turf. So Director's Cut is a horse that by Exaggerator has won a couple of races, or one A race at Gulfstream in 2 seconds, all on turf. And the figures for that horse match up a little bit here. I mean, I still think is probably too slow, but so it looks like there is at least some kind of, I guess, turf pedigree coming from Exaggerator. But yeah, I really of the alsos, I think I like the 6 the best. But I'm the 10 or the 9. You could almost, I guess, I wouldn't fault anybody for using both. I think I'm gonna take a stand with the 10 here though, just from the soft going. So
yeah, the other thing I'll say is a couple of people have mentioned that Petit Verdot in chat. Obviously, horse doesn't have the turfiest pedigree, but does have a win over turf, and it was a win over yielding turf. And the other thing is, Ellis Park shippers have been really good this meet. They've run way above their sort of class rankings. So
the Finger Lake shippers of Kentucky.
They're the finger shippers of Kentucky. I wouldn't, if you wanted to go here, you're going to get every part of 15-1. So you're probably going to get double that. Wouldn't shy anybody away from it. Horse needs to improve a ton to win, but did win by 6.5. And when horses win by 6.5 geared down, those figures come back light. So I wouldn't talk anybody off from, taking a flyer here. Just, do it smartly.
Yeah, you get around the 9 or 10 here, and it almost doesn't matter who it is. It dramatically magnifies the payout of this horizontal sequence in the pick 4, pick 5, pick 3. It doesn't matter. There's a couple key horses that if you can get around, it doesn't even matter who you get around them with, it's going to pay. And anyone besides the 9 or 10, I think, makes the sequence worth quite a bit of money.
Was Vancouver a raced horse?
Yes.
Huh.
I would say even if you can get it was an Aussie horse though. So even if you can get the 9 or the 10 out of a vertical, if you're getting them out of a try or out of a super, or even out of the first leg of a try or a super, this is going to pay.
Yeah, DRF for some reason says Vancouver is unraced. Probably because of Australia, I'm guessing. Oh, never mind. Yeah, 4 for 5 lifetime. Okay, that's weird.
Yeah.
His progeny do excellent. It's one of my favorite first-time turf sires right now. They're firing. It took a little while to get going, but he's not a household name yet, so you can still get some prices.
Yeah, 15% first time, 2-year-old first time starters. Wet turf. It looks like he's 1 for 5. He's only had a couple starters, but yeah, it looks like Turfy's been killing it. So, all right. So let's move on to the last 2 of the grade 3s that we got coming here. Let's start with race 11,
Race 10.
No, race 10. I'd already jumped ahead. I was already just getting so excited.
We can skip this race if you want.
I was getting so excited for this, the Kentucky Turf Cup. Now, if you weren't around last year, I believe this is the race last year that spawned a T-shirt. Did it spawn 2 T-shirts, or is it just the same day?
No, same day, but 2 different races.
2 different races?
Race, yeah.
Okay, it was just the same day. I couldn't remember. But is Zulu Alpha is the defending champion of this race, and Zulu Alpha is also the best 1.5-mile turf horse probably right now. Unless I don't know. What do you think, Sadler's Joy? You like Sadler's Joy more, Caleb?
I think Channel Maker has the belt right now.
Oh God. But yeah, Caleb. What do you like about here in race 10?
Yeah, so this race, I looked through it and I'm like, hey, I'm getting some nice prices, and some of the horses I think look pretty good, kind of like you said earlier. And then I came to Zulu Alpha in the 10 hole, and I'm like, well, it's been a year. We've had some ups and downs, mostly downs, but we did have one up where I beat him at Gulfstream with Bema's boys. So it pretty much got to the point where I'm like, am I going to just continue to waste money trying to beat this horse? Or am I just going to use him in a race where he has the field over a barrel as a nice single? And, well, I'm going to continue to waste money trying to beat this horse. So yeah, there's no doubt he's the horse to beat, but I just can't ever go there. He never does it by much. He never does it impressively. His last race, I'll admit, it was better than it looks because he was chasing after a miserably slow pace. And I had the 6-horse that day, Postulation, at a monster price on the lead, and I really thought he might hold that day. So Zulu Alpha ran a better than it looks race to get up for the Alcorn. He won this race last year. Like he's really hard to hate here, and you probably have to use him in some form or fashion. Like this probably isn't the place to try to beat him. You probably want to do that at the Breeders' Cup, but yeah, like he's tough to really get around, and I'll acknowledge that. For me, though, the horses that I really do kind of want to use to try to beat him with would be if I'm using 3 horses here, then debatably Zulu Alpha. So the 2 horses one I really do like at a nice price, Red Knight. Bill Mott's really hot right now. He had a winner today, the 13 horse in one of the middle races. Horse went off like 6 or 8 to 1.
Yeah, the second
nice
to last
price.
race.
Yeah. So, and the thing with Red Knight is I'm pretty sure like they don't card races long enough for him. Like he just seems like a horse that would run, jumps races, but on the flats if they carded him. So, to be honest, like I really like him going this marathon uphill turf race. I always thought he track that just would fit him. He has a ton of stamina and just seems like a horse that would make a lot of sense in a race like this. He needs to get a little faster to turn the tables on Zulu Alpha, but he's a horse that likes to win. He runs good numbers. He loves the distance. So to me, with the hot barn and everything else, there's a lot of places they could have ran him. They could have run him anywhere at Saratoga. They could have run him on the Churchill undercard. They put him here. Mott's other runner today seemed to be pretty well intentioned. I'm assuming this was the target. He was campaigned for this. So I'm going to use him pretty heavily. I'm also going to go back to the Postulation well with the 6 horse. Part of me says if you couldn't beat Zulu Alpha going 52 to the half, you're probably just not going to beat him. And that's probably fair. I love that ride by Leparoux. It just wasn't quite good enough that day. But the one thing is that was his first start in about 8 months for an 8-year-old horse. To me, he should step forward off of that, or at least run back up to, one of his better efforts. Now, his best race doesn't beat Zulu Alpha's best race, but he probably has the ability to be a little more tactical than Zulu Alpha. And a race that doesn't really scream off the page with any speed, he very well, I would be a little surprised to see him make the lead, but he should be forward. And, he could have a shot here to, he was only beaten 3/4 of a length here with the lucky trip and the right setup. He maybe can turn the tables on Saturday. And the other one I'm going to try to use to get around Zulu Alpha is the 7. He's No Lemon. Of the up-and-comers who may actually take a big step forward, he's the most interesting to me. He looks a little bit light on speed figures, but if you look, he was coming out of races where the pace was just miserably slow in each of his last 4, honestly. I mean, he hasn't really had a half mile under 50 seconds to run at in quite a while. So I do think he'll be a little bit pace compromised here. He wasn't able to make up enough ground to hit the board in the Elkhorn when Zulu Alpha got that race won. But if you look, he was trying to come from 10th, back by about 10 lengths. Zulu Alpha was a little more tactical, a little more forwardly placed there. And I do think that they really, from the second call onward, they made up similar amounts of ground. It's just that he wasn't quite able to get the jump on Zulu, and he's probably not going to run him down. I like that how Castellano stays on. He's got 2 wins on this horse out of 3 times he's been up. The horse gets the distance as well, and he's one that isn't fast enough to win right now, but I'm kind of hoping as the 4-year-old who's relatively lightly raced, he might be able to take that next step forward. My only question, I guess, was I don't know what it says on your form, but I have a speed figure for Arklow, and I'm kind of wondering how they calculated that when he hasn't finished the race yet.
See, that's not the thing I found interesting about Arklow, and I thought you'd say something different about Arklow. There's something that go on to this race, and I was shocked to see they're putting blinks on Arklow.
I don't care if they put a jetpack on Arklow.
I mean, that's probably not the wrong take. If Brad Cox wasn't hitting at 40% and first blinks for him was a 30% angle as well. But I mean, I realize he probably does need a jetpack to win this because Arklow is going to Arklow. But I think you talked about a bunch of horses that I'm interested in here, and I'm not going to try to reinvent the wheel, or I think you covered it really well. The two horses I have as A's are Red Knight, the 2. Bill Mott's been on fire. This is a horse that on time form figs is only a point or two behind Zulu Alpha. So the disparity in morning line odds versus the disparity in point figures to me doesn't make a lot of sense. And this is a horse that's been improving. He's getting better every start. Never run across this track. We'll see if he handles it. He's on a really long layoff. First off, a pretty substantial layoff, and I don't love that on a distance horse, but I'm gonna get paid to take that gamble, and I'm pretty cool with that. Zulu Alpha, the other A horse that I begrudgingly have to take because I just he kind of towers over this field. He should get this done. He hates, I don't know, he sucks, but you sort of take it for what it is. And the other two horses I want are, I think, two others that Caleb mentioned. I'm going to use Arklow as a B. As much as it pains me, yeah, I know, I'm burning money, and I'm okay with it. He's not that far behind these on figures. I realize Cox is throwing the kitchen sink at him and trying to get something done. He hasn't won out since October of 2019 in the Turf Classic, where he shouldn't have won anyways, and he loves to finish second. But yeah, and the horse I want a little bit of here is Postulation as a B as well. Who I think Caleb and I have both been on this horse unsuccessfully multiple times. He seems like the type that just needs that tiny little step forward to get it done. Don't know if this is the time that happens, but he has run well at Kentucky Downs in the past, which does give me a little promise that that Julian can sort of figure it out with him and get it done.
Yeah, I had it pretty similar to you guys. I got the 6 and the 10 as my A's, Postulation and Zulu Alpha. I think on figs, those two horses are the best here. I sheepishly also have Arklow as a B, just like you, Mark, and I also do have Red Knight as a B. So I kind of think that the winner comes from those four horses. I might just move Postulation down to B and roll with Zulu Alpha as a lone A in this race. But I believe last time I also used Arklow very heavily, and Zulu Alpha made me look stupid. So maybe it's Arklow's turn to win. I don't know. But the other horse that was a little interesting to me, and I know you guys kind of poo-pooed me earlier when I had mentioned it, was the 11 standard deviation. Now, the horse is kind of going the wrong way as far as the form looks. Did have but was kind of up against it pace wise last time out. Didn't have much to close into. That was that race that Parrot should have won and should have won me gobs of money. But instead, Aquaphobia decided to ruin everything. And if I remember correctly, and I'm pulling up the buyer figs. Yeah, I mean the figs from that race were pretty strong, and most of the horses came out of that pretty decently. So I could see standard deviation moving forward and kind of going back to his other figs. You do get John Velasquez aboard for Grand Motion, which is always a plus. They are when they hook up, they are I think they're like a $4 ROI on this one.
$4.50 ROI.
Yeah, and they hit at 20%. So. And if standard deviation is not, you think got no shot to win, I definitely think this is the type of horse that you're going to want in second and third in your exactas and tries. So, standard deviation I have as a C. I don't know if I'm really going to use the horse at all, but I just thought that this horse was interesting in this spot. And I thought was worth talking about a little bit. Matt Carlson's asking about Hierarchy, the 12. If you think that usable here, especially underneath.
I totally think that horse is usable underneath. Figs don't fit with any of the winners, or what sort of needed to get this done. But the horse has done very well over a softer going, and comes out of the Ellis, the Ellis Park race where I think there was a couple of championship races where it was softer going. Yeah. It's a 3 for 18 type, but a horse that 11 of 18 on the board. So it's the horse that if you're looking for that bottom end of a trifecta or even the bottom of an exacta, totally, I would never fault anyone for going here, but going a little longer than this one has ever tried, ever tried in his career. I don't know if he necessarily handles it, and also he has to handle Kentucky Downs, which he has not in the in his career as well. So it's a horse that's, I think, super usable underneath. I just wouldn't want him on them.
Yeah, I agree. Don't really like him on top. Very usable underneath. I think he kind of tripped out in his last two when he got some pretty honest paces to run after. It made nice runs, as he should have. And the race 3 back looks pretty good when you figure Ramsey Solution came back to win yesterday, and the other 2 horses exiting that race also won their next start. So one of them was him, but yeah. So definitely usable underneath. I have like a negative bias against Corey Lannery on turf. I just think he's a terrible turf jockey. So I don't like seeing Lannery up for this horse, but I mean, I guess he got the win 2 back and was second last out. Factor this is a very nice horse. I think he put in a really nice race on the Churchill undercard, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, he lost, but I think he ran quite respectably there in a pretty competitive spot. So yeah, Hierarchy is very usable underneath for me for sure.
Cool. Why don't we move on to the last race here? The Grade 3 Run Happy Turf Sprint. This was the Morticia race, wasn't it?
Yep.
3-year-olds and up. 3-year-olds and up. 6 furlongs on the turf. You were saying, Mark?
No. I was going to say, I think the Run Happy is a new addition for the naming this year. But it was the turf sprint.
Well, this is the Run Happy meet at Kentucky Downs.
I think Run Happy has had more sponsored races than he has winners.
I think
that's 100% true.
I think he's only had one winner.
I think he's had one winner who broke down in its
one winner, and that winner is not going to run ever again. So
that's dreadful.
Yeah. Maybe they should try going medication free. I wonder if that would help. So race 11 here. One of your favorite horses in this one. A couple of horses I think you really like, but Caleb, I correct me if I'm wrong, and I hope this isn't a flapjack situation like our boy Chase. But you're a big Imprimis fan, aren't you?
I love Imprimis, and I loved him in the Shakertown. He disappointed me about 6 times in a row after that. Last time I was like, oh, finally, the faithful will be rewarded. And I just thought I could cash a nice win bet on him there at a huge overlay of almost 3-1. And he gets taken down for such legitimate but never going to lose kind of foul. And it just broke my heart.
Yeah, and I got put up.
Yeah. And the horse who is never going to be better than third somehow gets put up for first.
Oh, American Sailor.
But yeah, I love Imprimis, and I love him here. I think he's back in form. I mean, that was a huge race, and it was from the rail, too, which is a tough post to win at Saratoga. He crushed that field. A little bit green in the stretch just from lugging in a little bit and bumping Shiki Shabazz. But I love Imprimis here. I'm going to spread here because this is a very competitive race, but I love Imprimis, and he's my top pick.
Yeah, so this race came up awesome. And I'm going to be single A here because I have another horse that I love in here, which is the 12, Bound for Nowhere. He's your speed of your speed in here. He's going to get loose. He loves Kentucky Downs. He's won at longer. So this is, a cutback off things he's won at. And they scratched him out of the Derby Day. I can't remember which. It was one of the turf sprints they scratched him out of to run him here. He doesn't run very often. He comes off the bench really well. He loves the winner's circle, loves getting his photo taken, and I have just a massive soft spot for this horse, and I have for a number of years. So he's going to be my lone A in here. Who you guys like? Or what else are you liking, Josh?
Well, I also love a horse in this race, but this horse has got to draw in, and that's the 13 Tiger Blood. I think that this horse, finished second last time out at Kentucky Downs, is going to have that outside speed. I don't think this horse is going to draw in, but we have seen them draw in a little bit. But I love this horse to probably finish second behind the 12, Bound for Nowhere. The 2 A's I have in this race are the 12 and the 13. And I pretty much kind of kept with my the theme I've kind of had on these turf sprints, which is to stick to the outside. The two other horses that I'm going to want to use in this race are the 9 Imprimis, Caleb's favorite horse, and then I'm going to want to use a little bit of this 10 Richie's in the House. Larry Ravelli shipping in this horse, and has done most of his damage on the synthetic, but has won also, is 2 for 4 on the turf as well, so is no slouch on the turf, just tends to run on synthetic more. Had a monster speed figure last time out at Presque Isle Downs, that if a horse like Bound for Nowhere runs back closer to what he ran in the Shakertown as opposed to or this past Shakertown as opposed to last year, I think that Richie's in the House is right there on speed figures. The other horse that I was a little interested in is the 2 Stubbins. I think if this does get a little crazy up front early, I think that Stubbins might be in a good spot to pick up the pieces. I'm just a little concerned about the post draw. The horse is going to be inside, so it does have Rosario aboard. So this is exactly the type of horse that can just like fuck up your tickets, because all the outside horses just fucking go, and Rosario gets some trip and closes in. So Stubbins will probably be a B or C type for me, but those are going to kind of be the 5 horses I'm going to want to use here.
Yeah, I was gonna say Richie's in the House. I didn't know what to do with that horse. Only a couple starts in one start on turf, finished 3rd. The figure didn't come back fast enough to be competitive in this, but it's Larry Ravelli. This isn't the kind of meat he ships to. Why is he shipping one horse down here to run in this race? Like, again, this is a sort of the why are you here horse, where Ravelli could be running at a lot of other places with this horse in a lot of other spots. So I didn't quite know what to do this horse. I ended up not using it, but it's one that I'm a little, you feel a little suspect. This horse is going to beat you at 15 to 1. You're going to be like, oh, that was the easiest 15 to 1 ever, because it's Ravelli. But
yeah, busy channel ran for him yesterday. That was a horse that I was on as well yesterday, at like 5 to 1. Came in second. At what race was it? Looks like the 8th race yesterday. So yeah, this is the second horse he's running here.
Yeah, I know. I Bound for Nowhere is my lone A, and I'm pretty cool with that. Tiger Blood to me has to take, has never really performed outside of the optional claiming ranks. It's a horse that this is just way over his head race wise. He fits on figures. I totally get it, and you can make the same sort of argument for Fast Boat. The horse just outside are both horses that fit on figures, make a ton of sense, and you feel like you want to use them somehow. But when they've stepped up to this sort of class level, they've just never really performed. The other 2 horses I want, as B's in here are nobody's mentioned this horse, and I'm kind of shocked. The 3 Front Run the Fed is drawn inside. I don't love the post position. It's a Chad Brown horse, but he is 67% of the meat. This one is on figures, fits, seems to be right there. It's a horse that loves to hit the board. I can see making an argument if you don't love this one on top, but I think this is a hard one to get out of your trifecta. And, there's just too many things to sort of like in here. And again, this one has actually shown up a little bit more on the black type sort of stakes stage. The other one that I sort of liked in here a little bit was Caleb's horse Imprimis, who I spent a huge amount of effort trying to get him off the board in his last out in the Troy at Saratoga, and I failed miserably. I absolutely hated him in this race. I thought he was completely done. I thought he just was never going to run another step, and he showed up and ran like a monster. So I'll give him another shot. I think he's a horse that you have to use. I don't trust him, but again, he's a horse that he either wins or he completely misses the board. So, if you're playing verticals, keep that in mind, because that's just, what he does. He's got a 14 start, 7 wins, and the only other 2 times he's hit the board were show bets or show races. So he seems to be, when he gets headed in the lane, he stops, but is a horse that he fits, and I wouldn't talk anybody off him. And I think at 8 to 1 on the morning line, I don't think you get that, but boy, at 8 to 1, he's a lot of value.
If you get 8 to 1, I'll be backing up the truck and auction off a spleen on the black market.
I was gonna say, if I get 5 to 1 on Bound to Nowhere, I will be doing the same. I'll be shoveling money at the window.
Yeah, no, I agree. These lines probably come down on the top 2 or 3 logical horses, and then probably float way up on some of these others. I liked a bunch of horses here. I'm going to have Imprimis and Bound for Nowhere as my two A's. I think they're just the class of the field. They have the best speed figures. And then I haven't exactly decided on structure yet, but the two B's I wanted are both horses we haven't talked about. The first was the 4, Totally Boss. And he actually won this race last year, so it's amazing that nobody's mentioned him yet. He hasn't won since, but he hasn't necessarily run poorly. I mean, he had a troubled trip in the Breeders' Cup, had to check really hard. So you can kind of toss that one, then you go back and he had yet another troubled trip at Churchill. When he finally had a pretty clear run, he just missed in the Shakertown at Keeneland, second by a head to Leinster and actually beat Bound for Nowhere there. And he was moving best of all late. I've always thought he was more of a 6.5, 7 furlong kind of turf sprinter, not so much a true 5 furlong kind of turf sprinter. So I really think this 6 furlongs up the hill makes a ton of sense for him here. I think 9-2 is too short, but I think you'll get a lot better than that. So I do like him here. The other one I liked is another horse who I think is too short on the board, but you get better, which is the 6, Kanthaka. This horse I didn't have on any tickets, wasn't even concerned about in his Jaipur at Belmont. And he almost screwed me at 16-1. I mean, he ran a monster race that day and only got beaten in a photo finish to Alexandra, who's arguably the best turf sprinter in the country right now. He ran huge, and that was his first start in over a year. Only his second start on turf, and going into a grade 1. I mean, that's just insane for him to run that well. And he did. I mean, he arguably even had a worse trip than Alexandra, because he was sitting a lot closer. Well, not necessarily close, much closer to a just wicked pace up front. So to me, I think he's super interesting here. And if he takes any step forward off that race, I think he just makes a ton of sense. And even if he doesn't, he probably hits the board. So he's one that I really like here. I think 5-1 again is on the maybe a tiny bit on the short side, but yeah, I think if you get between 6 and 8-1 on both Totally Boss and Kanthaka, I'll definitely be using both as Bs. Mark already mentioned, I think, Stubbins and Front Run the Fed. Those are my two Cs. If I actually go that deep, those are the two that I'd probably want. And then the one C that I'm going to take an irrational stab on, that I think this is Josh's flapjack, is the 8, Bon Raison. This horse, I've been on him a lot ever since he wired a race 100 years ago. Not as much as other people. I know 6421 loves this horse a lot of the time. I think Josh has been on him a few times. Radio Chase. But the only reason I'm really considering this horse is that Jack Sisterson ends up getting into his barn. He paid $80,000 for this horse. That's a huge claim. You don't see that for a 5-year-old very often. And Sisterson has done some really good work with some high-profile underachieving horses. The first two that jump to mind are Lexingtonian, who ran a really nice, I think it was an allowance or just non-graded stakes. And then at Oaklawn or Keeneland, I forget where it was. Churchill. I knew it was a Midwest track. Then he shipped across the country to Del Mar in the Ben Crosby and ran second by a head. Didn't do much running at Saratoga after that, but 2 good races for a horse that's kind of underperformed most of his career. And the other one was Everfast, a horse that's a notorious second-place finisher, a notorious hanger. He got that horse to actually win a race and then, really turn his form around. And he's turned into a pretty decent horse himself now. I mean, he's not like you turn him into grade 1 winners overnight, but he's found a way to turn horses that have shown talent but just haven't really shown consistency and get them to fire. So at 30-1, this is a horse that I can take a shot on, him being able to move up. The turf pedigree is relatively there, and Adam Beskiza has been riding pretty well at Kentucky Downs. That's a track he always does pretty well at. So that's a horse that I don't know how I'll use him. Maybe I just take him to Win Play Show for a small bet or make him a C at best. But it's just an interesting kind of trainer play, I thought, that merited some attention.
Yeah, I'll give that to you. That I wouldn't talk anybody off a real cheap C or a cheap win bet on a 30-1 horse that you just happen to love. I love Ben Raison. He's over 5 on the turf and has only got 2/3. He's a horse that I realize they paid a lot of money to take him out of that last optional 80. But I don't. And Jack Sisterson has a habit of moving these up, and yeah, they're going to try something different. And I love all the intangibles in there. I just have a really hard time seeing this. I don't see how this horse as a 5-year-old magically shows up as a turf sprinter and beats a pretty legit field in here. Maybe stranger things have happened, and I wouldn't fault anybody for that. And I think when I looked at this race and I capped it, both Totally Boss and Kanthaka, I think my issues with both of those were they were horses that have sort of been proven at shorter, and you're taking a real short price here on a track that tends to play more towards cutbacks. So they were horses I was okay omitting at those kind of prices. Now, all of a sudden, if they could go 8, 9, 10 to 1 range, all of a sudden both of those become super interesting. And yeah, and I agree with you with Totally Boss. Did beat Bound for Nowhere last out, and that race was really impressive. We'll see. I don't, I tried to cap this leg skinny because it felt like a spready leg, and I wanted to be aggressive to something because I'm thinking of it more from a pick 5 standpoint. But I would, I could totally see a Totally Boss or a Kanthaka winning this.
Was there anybody we didn't talk about in this race?
I think we still missed like half the field.
Archidust.
I bet that Josh would be on the 7 if Kendrick was up.
Oh, American Anthem, dude. Yeah, if Kendrick was up, dude, I'd be all about that. It's actually really interesting. And it's something that I've noticed a little bit is that there's been some interesting like horses trying turf for the first time at this meet. American Anthem, this is, I believe, his first shot. And then we saw Lady Apple earlier today, and I feel like there's one other one I'm not thinking of, but I guess if you're gonna take a shot, right, you might as well take a shot when the purse is $700,000. And
yeah, I mean, nothing wrong there. And if anyone's gonna get a horse to just like jump up and run well on turf, it's probably gonna be Mike Maker, especially in Kentucky.
Yeah, owned by Don Tiger, which is a fucking great name.
That is a good name.
But yeah, I mean, but that's I think that covers what we wanted to talk about today. Shout out to the Wolf. I know the Wolf has not been feeling well the past couple days, so shoot him a nice message on Twitter or ping him on Discord. Shout out to the Wolf. Tomorrow is kind of a weird day because Kentucky Downs is really the only thing going right now that I'm kind of paying attention to, and they don't run tomorrow.
I'm so mad about that.
Yeah, so I know, Mark, are you doing a tournament tomorrow, or is it just you, Caleb, that has a tournament tomorrow?
I know I am. I think Mark was looking, but I don't know if he's going to pass or not. But
what tracks you got?
Dude, it's 4 races at like Gulfstream 7 to 9 or 7 to 10. Like Woodbine, like 6 to 9, and then like Golden Gate Fields 2 to 4. It's like the worst tracks on earth, full of like, and it's not even just the worst tracks on earth, but it's like the worst races at the worst tracks on earth. It's like,
I thought you liked Woodbine. What happened?
Like I do, but they got some like it's like a maiden claiming like 7,500, a claiming 15 non-winners of 2 lifetime. Like it's like the worst races you could possibly ask for. Like it's bad.
Yeah, I have some breakage cash, so I'm debating about jumping into one of those, worst races you could ever, ask for sort of events. But I think I'll probably save for the some of the stuff on Saturday and maybe try to BC qualify again.
Yeah, don't forget Saturday Discord Exacta Box Tournament at Kentucky Downs. I think it's races 6 to 11, and like I qualified. I jumped in a feeder yesterday and I won it, and it was a Kentucky Downs feeder. Such a fun track to play tournaments in because pretty much no lead is safe. Like you could have 0 and then have a fairly logical horse that ends up going off at 15 to 1, and all of a sudden you're in the money. And like it's so much fun. Exacta Box only adds to the chaos. Like you're never out of it. So definitely jump in. I think it's a $20 buy-in, so it's not that steep. A lot of fun. I'd highly recommend it.
Also, to like Keep Pounding was playing an Exacta Box feeder at Kentucky Downs, and I think he said he hit like on 8 races, he hit 1 race and was in the money. Like he hit 1 Exacta, but it paid like $190 or something crazy, and he finished 3rd. So you don't have to hit. You don't have. You with how these pay and with these field sizes, you don't have to be that great at it. You can kind of luck into something with you where you put a couple prices together and pull a Josh out of your ass, and all of a sudden it pays a ton of money.
Shout out to Keep Pounding.
Oh yeah, almost missed it.
Yeah, we did almost miss it. We have to make sure that he stays for the whole thing, so that way he catches it. John Massey saying authentic was a straw that broke the wolf's back.
Fuck, I thought we were going to get through an entire stream. I wouldn't have to hear that
The
bastard's
word
name.
authentic. Oh man, yeah.
When all your friends who know you're horse racing people who on Monday morning or Tuesday morning or whatever it was are like, oh, let's talk about the Baffert. And I'm like, no, let's not. I don't want to talk about this. Just no, leave me alone.
Dude,
Yeah, my aunt texted me and she's like, oh, I bet on like alternate and he won. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like,
yeah, I was just like, every person I know who's like asking me, like, I was like, they were like, well, what about this authentic horse? I'm like, look, like, no, like, you can bet Honor AP if you want. I'm like, authentic. It's like, you know, you don't want authentic. I'm like, you want 1,000 words. If you want a Baffert horse, you want 1,000 words. And then, yeah. Evil Bob Dole said he told us all week that he was going to wire the field. No, I think that was Anonymous. I don't know. I forget who he is in here, but I know he's normally in chat. So apparently he told us that he was going to wire the field. He just didn't tell everybody. So he did mention it in our chat. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I think that's going to do it for us. Yeah, tomorrow's kind of just a crappy day of racing. So, I'm not going to play anything tomorrow. I was thinking maybe I'd look at Woodbine for you, but no, I'll probably.
Tomorrow?
Huh?
Arlington run tomorrow?
Yeah, but I'm on DRF bets now, so I'm back on that. I'm back on that train. But yeah, so we're on the wrong lead. I'm Josh for Caleb, Mark. We'll catch you guys. We'll catch you guys later. Catch our stuff at ontherwronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. Obviously, you guys have our YouTube, and yeah, we'll see you guys later.